Hello, everyone, and welcome to Samhain. It's October 31st today, Thursday, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about Samhain and give everyone some ideas for the energies to expect, some ideas maybe for rituals to perform that would be resonant with Samhain, especially this year. Um, Samhain, as many people probably know, is one of the cross-quarter festivals of the Celtic calendar, and it's one of the most important. So it was really viewed as the ending of an old year and the beginning of a new year. It's the time when we really start to feel the increasing darkness and the diminishment of summer light. And so it's a time meant to be a transition point where we're moving from those long, gorgeous summer days, even the fall days of harvest, into a deepening, darkening, more internally focused time where we're starting to plant the seeds for next year that will sprout next year. And in the Celtic mind, Samhain also corresponded to the start of the new year. And the reason for this is everything really begins in darkness. You know, we see the crocuses sprout in the spring and we think, oh, things are happening. It's the beginning. But in reality, those seeds were planted months before and have been germinating underground. Very similarly, we think of new life, a baby being born, but that baby was conceived many months ago. And so there's this sense of this time of increasing darkness and turning inward as being a time when the year starts, when things start to happen that will become external and more evident later on. So I definitely personally approach Samhain as a time for setting intentions, reflecting on the past year, thinking about what is to come in the next year. And so it's already a wonderful time for intention setting because it represents that new year point from the Celtic perspective. Additionally, we tend to be more internally focused this time of year, just naturally, because it gets in the northern hemisphere, it gets darker so much earlier that at 5 or 6 p.m. it's fully dark, and we feel like I don't want to leave my house. I'm pretty happy here. And so we tend to almost cocoon a little bit in our spaces, which gives us more time for mental, emotional, spiritual reflection to consider what seeds we want to plant, what we want to sprout next spring. Also, in the Celtic mind, this was one of the times that represented a thinning of the veil between this three-dimensional world we live in and the other world, the underworld, the other world. And so this was viewed as a time when we could more easily sense the energies or communications or more easily receive the gifts of those from the other side. And likewise, we can more easily send messages, communications, gifts to people on the other side. So there is a strong spiritual sense to this time of year, regardless of what anyone's specific religious beliefs are. It's a time when we feel closer to what is beyond this three-dimensional world, what is beyond the veil. So there's already almost, an internally focused resetting of priorities, energy to this time. So this is all Samhain in general. However, this year, our Samhain is special, and I'm so excited for it. So tonight, it will be very early in the morning, tomorrow morning. So at about 5:45, I think it's exactly 5:47 a.m. West Coast Pacific time. On November 1st, tomorrow morning, we get a new moon in Scorpio. So new moons represent the time when the sun and the moon are aligned. And of course, the sun is so much brighter than the moon that we cannot see the moon. So at night, when we would normally have moonlight to guide our paths and allow us more sight in the darkness, we don't. During a new moon, we cannot see any moonlight at all. And so the time of the new moon also has this resonant quality with the darkness, sowing the seeds for what will become something later, maybe closer to the full moon. And so we have this seasonal transition time between the summer and the fall, between the light and the darkness, at the same time that we have a monthly moon cycle that corresponds with this transition time between wrapping up the old and starting to sow the seeds for the next cycle. So there's almost a double dose of energy here. And this is a new moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is the fixed water sign, the water element. It's so primordial. It's so deeply emotional. It doesn't represent all of the developments of our logical, intellectual, rational minds. It comes from a much earlier place. And so Scorpio already, it's intuitive and it feels deeply. And it's connected to older things, deeper things, things closer to, metaphorically, the bottom of the ocean. And so we're kind of, this new moon in Scorpio is bringing this depth of reflection, this depth of contemplation for where we have come from and what is next, at the same time that Samhain is doing the same thing on a bigger scale. So we kind of have the yearly scale, Samhain as the dividing time and the time of increasing darkness. And on the lunar monthly cycle, we have the new moon as the time of reflection, full darkness. So this gives us such an amazing opportunity for those of you who are working on intuition practices. Intuitive energies are going to be strong tonight and into the early hours of the morning of November 1st. If you are looking to do ancestral work, again, the veil between the worlds is thin right now. If you've been struggling to connect with people who have passed over and have really, it just hasn't clicked, it hasn't felt right, this is a time when it will feel easier. And then as we look forward in the being in the US, this is a time of a lot of division and difficulty in the country. We have the US presidential election in less than a week. And so there's already a lot of really strong energies running really high over that. And so this new moon and this Samhain transition point really give us an opportunity to take a step back from all of these energies we're being bombarded with on a day-to-day basis externally, and look at, okay, what energy can I bring to this situation? How can I be a light in the darkness? Maybe many things are very difficult across many dimensions, but what is the best energy I can bring? And really set intentions around that. Maybe you have an intention around peace or justice. Whatever that is, this is a wonderful time to set intentions that will just lock into place and really take hold. And it will be easier for you to keep that intention. Sometimes we set intentions and it's really hard to follow through. But again, this like resetting of the season, of the year, of the lunar cycle, all at the same time, what we intend now is likely going to grow. So again, with the bigger energies at play in the world, so much going on worldwide as well as in the US, it's really important that we don't unconsciously sow seeds now of a lot of anger or hatred or division, because that's what will set and lock in and grow later. So really being intentional about this new moon. There's so much good energy here, just so many opportunities. One other thing that's very interesting to me is that this new moon is occurring almost exactly as Mars and Pluto are experiencing their first opposition. I did a video on the Mars-Pluto oppositions several weeks ago, so you can go back and look at that if you are interested. Um, but this first Mars-Pluto opposition is the only one that takes place in Capricorn and Cancer before both Pluto and Mars change signs. So there's kind of a push and pull along this axis of power dynamics, transformation, what it means to feel safe, what is required to feel safe. And so as we're doing these new moon contemplations, reflections, and new season intentions for the upcoming year, we will be more in touch with what is emotionally working in our life and what is not. So if there are areas where there are big power imbalances, maybe we have too much power, maybe we have given away too much power, those are going to feel very present in our mind if we give ourselves that time and space to reflect. And any areas as well where we feel like we want to transform, and there's been that niggling feeling in the back of our mind, oh, I want to change that. I really don't like this approach I always have. I don't like this response I always have. Maybe there's some deeper shadow work we've been putting off. Maybe there are things we've talked about in therapy but haven't really started doing and implementing yet. It will feel so clear to us right now where our biggest where the biggest blockages of our soul are. And so again, as we simultaneously have this time of great clarity into what is most important for us to change, all of the energy is right there to set the intentions to help us change it. So there's just a lot of really cohesive supporting energy here. And then the last interesting thing is Venus and Jupiter are almost exactly opposite. Just like we talked about, Mars and Pluto are opposite during this Samhain time, this new moon. Venus is at 17 degrees of Sagittarius. Jupiter is at 20 degrees of Gemini. So they are opposing each other within 3 degrees. I think that goes exact on November 3rd or 4th. So a couple days later, but they are already opposite each other. And this is just a beautiful energy. The Sagittarius-Gemini axis is all about exploration. Whether that's like exploring, traveling overseas, visiting a whole different country, seeing a whole different culture. It could be that. It could be reading books to give you different perspectives. It could be speaking with people who are very different from you to understand a totally different perspective where they are coming from. But Jupiter and Venus are known as the benefics in Hellenistic astrology. They bring goodness to what they touch. They try to help. And so as all of this reflection is going on, as all of these transformational opportunities are very visible and clear to us, there's also a strong benefic energy on this Gemini Sagittarius axis of creativity, getting outside of our boxes, pushing our boundaries, and really looking at the bigger picture. And so there's just so much cohesive energy here. So just to kind of sum up as we all approach our Samhain and new moon rituals tonight, so much opportunity to reset, restart, close out a cycle, start a new cycle. If there are habits that you want to start developing, if there are intentions you want to set for your upcoming year, such a beautiful, wonderful time to set those. And then again, we'll have so much awareness around the areas where we need to transform, where we have let ourselves grow stagnant and bitter. and there will be so much energy there to help us enact change in those areas. And then we will have a greater curiosity for other perspectives, other dimensions. If we've been feeling stuck in a rut, we can't really make changes, we can't really move forward, nothing's really happening. Jupiter and Venus on that Sagittarius Gemini axis are there to help us see the greater picture, look at things from others' perspectives, and help incorporate that into the transformations we want to make in our lives and in the world. So this just feels like an incredibly beautiful new moon. I'm very excited for it. This new moon is also trine to Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn in Pisces, it's disciplined, it's hardworking, but it's also imaginative, and it remembers that we are all one, that we all share common energies, common desires, common fears, common needs. And so there is an element of course, we're going to need to work hard to manifest the intentions and the change that we want to create in our lives. But if we're bringing imagination and we're keeping in mind the big picture of what we're trying to create, that hard work doesn't feel as hard. It feels more resonant. So many things that are just so beautiful about today. If you are considering any rituals tonight, anything to do with water is going to be wonderful for both the Samhain time frame and for a Scorpio watery new moon. So this could be something like taking a ritual bath where you are taking it slowly, deliberately, thoughtfully, maybe adding some soaps or herbs to your water to help connect you with the divine, to help you relax into connections with the other world. Obviously, darkness is sort of a theme of this time. We're celebrating the increasing darkness and the things that can grow in the darkness. So, maybe even spending time meditating quietly in the dark, maybe just with a candle or a small lamp, but giving darkness space and appreciating it and giving it gratitude. Sometimes we really just try to push the darkness away. We turn on artificial lights, but this is really a time to embrace the darkness. And then Scorpio in medical astrology is also associated with the nose, interestingly enough, among other things. And so if you do have anything scented that is resonant with you, maybe a scented candle or again, scented bath soaps, this would be a wonderful time to incorporate those in, maybe burn a little incense. But any of those types of things would be very helpful for your rituals tonight or tomorrow morning and really locking those intentions in. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, and I wish everyone an amazing Samhain and new moon in Scorpio. And I look forward to seeing the ways we all grow as we plant these seeds during this season. Love and light. And potentially today, darkness as well, celebrating the darkness too.